My name is JUBRAN Abdurrahman. I'll be moderating this session, and we're going to be highlighting sport tourism and the commercial opportunities within the MENA region. I've had the pleasure of working with HILAL Group, a Bahrain-based publishing house, which are pioneering in publishing trade titles such as the leading travel and tourism journal in the Middle East, Travel Tourism News. For the last 40 years, it has been a beacon of success and discusses the commercial aspect of the tourism industry. We are also involved in event management. Over the years, we have held women in business initiatives, both here in the UK as well back in the region, Bahrain and Saudi particularly. I just want to give a bit of a background in terms of what's happening basically in the region. The 2004 Formula One Bahrain Grand Prix marked the first major international sports event in the MENA region. This pioneering race attracted international fans, provided a significant economic boost. The success of the Bahrain Grand Prix opened the floodgate for other neighboring countries to hold their own editions, such as Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. With the liberalization of the regional economies, there is now a heightened enthusiasm for various sports across the MENA region. Qatar recently hosted the World Cup, which was very successful. You have successful, renowned stars like Ronaldo playing in the region. Obviously Saudi is going to be holding the World Cup in 2034, further solidifying the region's status in international sports. Beyond football as well, ladies and gentlemen, the MENA region sports scene is thriving with popular sports including tennis, cricket, martial arts, combat sports, e-gaming, e-sports, and endurance sports. In an unexpected development as well, Saudi Arabia will be hosting the 2029 Asian Winter Games at 60 square kilometer ski resort northwest of the kingdom, a city called Neom, despite the region's obviously traditionally hot climate. Women are making significant progress in many sports, breaking traditional boundaries and achieving new heights, especially over the last 7 years, as we can see. The MENA region is planning hundreds of events expected to attract millions of international visitors. To accommodate these visitors, countries in the region have simplified visa processes and expanded their accommodation offerings, enhancing the tourism infrastructure as a whole. Regional economies recognize the importance of sport as a form of soft power, which enhances their international standings. Gulf investors, as you already know, own numerous football clubs in the UK and in the rest of Europe, and regional companies sponsor global sports events, creating a significant presence in the sporting world. Global experts predict by the year 2026, the Middle East, particularly the Gulf region, will become a dominant international sporting hub through strategic investments. The sporting industry in the Middle East is expected to grow by 8.7% by 2026 compared to a global growth of only 3.3%. The focus is on creating a thriving sporting ecosystem that drives economic growth, attracts tourism from around the world, and connects people by catering to their curiosity and creativity. Opportunities are thriving and sectors are plentiful for investors, from infrastructure to institutions, technology to hospitality, and retail to entertainment. There are numerous opportunities for investors for all different sizes, from major players to niche entities, as we're going to find out shortly. I would like to quickly introduce our panelists because I know we're in a rush in terms of time. We have with us right now today JOSHI, who's an expedition leader, doctor, elite warrior, uniquely experienced in leadership, survival, and endurance across the desert, jungle, polar, and mountainous terrain. He has summited the highest mountains on every continent. Dr. BRIGITTE STANGL, University of Surrey, Senior Lecturer in Tourism, Director of the Center for Digital Transformation. In the visitor economy, BRIGITTE STANGL holds a doctorate and 2 master's degrees from the Vienna University of Economics and Business. During her studies, she specialized in tourism, leisure studies, and small businesses and entrepreneurship. Cassandra HEILBRONN is a sports and corporate risk lawyer in Australia and in Saudi, and now CEO for a family office based out of Saudi. She also stands on boards including sports and help out with governance, image rights, and general dispute. Being a Westerner who has been in Saudi long term, she also unofficially deals with, quite frequently as well, in managing the perception versus reality landscape of Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. And Ms. Marwa BULUSHI, obviously, who is actually an accomplished finance professional, currently serving as a commercial investment attaché at the Embassy of Oman in London, holding a master's degree in finance from the University of Management and Science, Malaysia. In her capacity as the commercial and investment attaché, Ms. BULUSHI plays a crucial role in fostering trade relations between Oman and the United Kingdom. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we are short of time with Cassandra because you have a flight to catch in less than half an hour. So I'm going to start with you. Having yourself been in Saudi for a long time, what's the perception versus the reality landscape of the Saudi and the Middle East and the reality on the ground?
I guess, first of all, I should apologise that I do need to race off to catch a flight shortly, but I'm very excited to be here today and to be able to share the knowledge, not only from a sports law perspective, but also now someone who's been on the ground in Saudi for over 5 years. And if we turn to sports tourism, it's not just about numbers to a country, although that's readily available in terms of statistics for Saudi, because prior to 2018, there was no such thing as tourism or tourists in Saudi. So we can readily quantify that. From 2019, they did start the sports tourism visas, and then more widely, the tourist visas come in. And I do recall late 2019, we had a boxing match in Riyadh, and one of the sports channels came up to me because, of course, tall, blonde, millennial in Saudi for a boxing. They key focus here for a good news grab, and they said, "Where have you travelled from?" And I said, "Alea." And they're like, "Where's that?" And I'm like, "About 20 minutes from here." And he's like, "Cut. Let's find someone else," because they couldn't. This reporter couldn't understand that there would be a Western female living in Saudi and hadn't just travelled there for sports tourism. But the second aspect for the impact on tourism in sports, particularly in the Middle East, is the increased infrastructure. And whilst they might be building new stadiums, new training facilities, it leads to increased awareness. When we talk about women's in sport, Saudi now has a female soccer league. Funnily enough, they did ask me to join back in 2019, and I was a former player, but I was about 35, 36 at the time, and I thought there is no way I can play in a national sports league at this age. But Saudi now has a FIFA-ranked women's team, and participation for women in sport has increased 149% since 2015. And the final aspect is that perception versus reality. What we read about, or the rhetoric that we see in Western media, is not what happens on the ground. I was the poster child for independent career women in Australia, and my life is so much easier living in Saudi. And through sports tourism, we can now share that story with the world. Princess Rima chairs Kayani. I've never not worn a suit on stage, and today I'm in head-to-toe Kayani, a Saudi-based female lifestyle health and wellness brand, which is as a result of sports tourism within the Middle East.
I couldn't agree with you more, Cassandra, because I personally have been working in the Saudi market for 30 years, and the revolution of change, or evolution of change, so I'm more proper correct, I've seen in Saudi the last 7, 8 years I've not seen in the years before. I mean, fundamentally, they are putting women at the forefront of their priority, and you could see that in all walks of life. When you go to the big cities, whether you walk into a coffee shop or you walk to a business center, you see women in leading positions, which for someone like me who has gone through the journey, I find it very, very, very exciting. Okay, so I would like to forward the question now to you, Doctor. I would like to understand from you, because this is where your forte is and experience, how big is sports tourism industry globally, and how does it contribute to the overall tourism economy?
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here. I feel very privileged to listen to so many amazing women and men this morning and now. In terms of tourism, tourism itself plays a huge role in terms of the contribution to the GDP. And I looked up numbers for how much sports tourism contributes, and I found one which says like close to 560 billion it was in 2022, and with a global annual growth rate of close to 20%, which is like amazing, right? The question is, with those numbers, listening to all those talks and also the technology one just before us, is what does it include and what is measured? Because literally in terms of sports tourism, there are lots of things, innovative things, which may not yet be part of those numbers, right? So most likely it's an underestimation, and the sports tourism is even bigger than those numbers we have.
Yeah, and you forecast a lot of it is actually being, invested in the MENA region, especially the Gulf states, I believe.
Sorry?
A lot of it is being, targeted towards the Gulf states, i.e. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, which have invested heavily on infrastructure.
Yeah, and in terms of the MENA region, obviously there's a huge difference between the countries as well, because there are those who are highly focused on oil, gas, and then there are who don't have those rich resources, who are already very advanced in tourism itself and also in sports tourism. But sports tourism then gives a huge opportunity to run those events. And then in terms of investment, we have all the obvious ones, which is like the infrastructure, which was mentioned before. It contributes to jobs, the local community, the quality of life. So there are so many different aspects sports tourism contributes positively to.
All right. Moving along to Ms. Arwa, as an Omani, you obviously are very much aware that the Gulf region boasts world-class infrastructure and ambitious sporting events. What are the economic benefits of investing in sports tourism in the Gulf? How would it reflect positively, if so, on the region as a whole and particularly on Oman?
Yeah, in general, maybe I will just put some points and highlight it with the comparison of the GCC before 2020 and after 2020 within the changes of the governments actually is happening for the last, I think, 3-4 countries. One of them is Oman, with a new government, with a new sultan, with a new strategy. And these, I will highlight some points where it is applicable even with other, the neighbor of the GCC countries. The changes which is taking the GCC from the oil and gas countries to diversify of the economic into the non-oil and gas sectors. And this we can see it with the Oman strategy plan, which is Oman Vision 2040, which is they particularly taking the key pillars of the growth of the economy for the next couple of years till we reach to the 2040, which is diversify the economic. And that will not be applicable to any kind of the GCC country unless we got this kind of geographical diversity as well. So lucky we are as an Oman.
Indeed, I've been to Oman so many times, and I have to say they have amazing landscape and terrain, which is unparalleled compared to other countries. So you already have this 100-meter advantage over some other countries.
Yes.
All right. Raj, your niche sport, is obviously adventure sports is rapidly growing in a lot of regions. How can the MENA Gulf region capitalize on this trend?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real privilege for me to be here, so thank you very much. So what I do may be a little different to what some people perceive as sports tourism. I mean, it's amazing events, football, rugby, Formula One. What I do is more niche, maybe a bit smaller, but can have huge beneficial ramifications. So what I do is essentially lead expeditions. I've been doing that for over 20 years to different parts of the world, working on every continent, going to quite remote places. What's really important as well is the cultural interaction with the local people, learning about their culture, their history, their traditions. So that's a little bit of a background about what I do. So very different to the big sporting events. I think there's a real potential commercially from what I call adventure sports tourism, but in a niche way. Because what it can do can have direct commercial and indirect benefits by bringing adventure sports to the MENA region. So, for example, from a direct benefit, I'd say adventure sports tourism has been one of the biggest growing sectors in the tourism industry over the last few years. And I think part of that in some countries is due to women. When I first started guiding my expeditions over 20 years ago, the majority of my trekking groups and my climbing groups were predominantly men. Over the years, I've noticed how that has actually changed from the groups I lead. Now, actually, my trekking groups are predominantly women, and the climbing groups are still actually predominantly men, but from the trekking experience, it's mostly women. So I think if that could be developed, providing the opportunity with the right marketing to inspire people, with the right role models, then women will take up adventure sports even more in the MENA region, and that was going to have direct commercial benefit to the area. Indirectly as well is something what Cassandra mentioned about what we sometimes see in the Western media is not the rhetoric on the ground. And I've seen that. When I've spoken to people, I've actually introduced the idea about going to MENA countries and operating over there and taking them on amazing adventures. And I've had a bit of, you could say, people being a bit more reticent because they think about what goes on in those countries. They think about human rights. They may not actually know, though, what's going on out on the ground. So I've operated in quite unique countries, environments, which actually no other operator goes to. And I'm keen for people to open up their eyes and see what actually goes on in these countries with their own eyes, rather than what they read or what they see in the media. And I think by doing that as well, if people do come over to the MENA country and see what really goes on, that can have other opportunities, because people then might be interested in setting up other businesses, which might not be to do with sports. So there could be so many benefits. So I think it can be quite a powerful thing if it's developed in the right way in the MENA countries.
I couldn't actually agree with you more, and this is something maybe Cassandra could a bit highlight, because I know you're working with the local authorities within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I mean, government support, as you know very well, plays a significant role in success of most of the initiatives that take place. What kind of government initiative would be most beneficial for attracting sport investment in the Gulf generally and Saudi Arabia specifically?
If I talk about attracting the growth, so I can speak to Saudi because I've been there long enough. I don't know the statistics for, say, UAE or Oman.
Yeah.
But one thing, in my first role, I should say, I was at Royal Commission for ADBUL doing the new laws for sports, entertainment and foreign investment. And one thing they were very clear on is we're not just to apply Western standards to our new laws. We're to benchmark jurisdictions worldwide, understand what best practice is, and integrate that with the local culture. So an exercise that would have taken a couple of months in Australia, we spent some 2 years doing to better understand this. And the aim was to help Saudi increase on a number of scales, including ease of doing business. My current role is I am a CEO for a family office, so I'm looking at investments day in and day out. My first question is, how do I get the money out? Whatever we're investing in, how will I get that out at a later day? So what the governments can do in the Middle Eastern region, particularly with foreign investors, is reassure them, show them how their money is going to be used, but also how it will come out. At a previous conference, actually in this building, I said, you prepare for the divorce before you say, I do. You don't want a divorce, but you prepare for that in the event that something goes wrong. You know what the terms are.
We are surely hoping for a Catholic marriage with no divorce. Yeah?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah. You know, following that particular point, what specific sectors within the sports tourism are most attractive for investors, do you think, in Saudi currently, if you can be a bit more specific?
Oh, it's definitely the sports that have media rights, because that's where the revenue is generated. So if we're talking the golf, the panel before mentioned boxing, and I loved how they spoke about the different time zones. Saudi has realized if you want return, if you want exposure, you make sure that you're televising in prime time for the UK and USA. How long have we been watching sports on television? Why has it taken until 2019 and Saudi Arabia to lead the way and help show people what happened? So I think the focus should be on the televised sports.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, because Saudi Arabia, over 50% of the population is less than 30 years. So they do have a very young, vibrant, obviously, people that are looking forward to getting involved in various initiatives, as you have mentioned. I'm going to direct a question now to Dr. Brigitte. Why attracting international investors is crucial? And what are the challenges, opportunities, feeling? Sorry, I think I went through this question. Sorry, here it is. Technology is constantly evolving. How can sport tourism investment in the Gulf leverage new technologies to enhance the visitor experience and create competitive edge?
Actually, technology, this is a huge topic in our research center as well, in terms of creating those experiences. And I think we have two different things here. Like one part is what Raj said, like we have those niches, and media and entertainment basically is getting more fragmented. But the opportunity with that is that we can target really like tiny niche markets which are still profitable. On the other side, and this is, I suppose, the beauty of sports tourism is, in sports we have this community and we have big communities. And in sports we agree on rules, we agree on what the referee says, that is it. So we have this sort of understanding between cultures, between countries, and we have this community which from a marketing point of view is a huge opportunity as well. In terms of technology, I think the opportunities are literally endless, starting from what you said in terms of TV, but there's also streaming. And we did some research, for example, how to make streaming more personalized, because customers nowadays want to feel special, they have so much experience, so they want to have a tailored experience, even if it's online with gaming, as we said before, right? Also, we do, for example, some research which might be interesting for the region in terms of how tourism can save water, because that's a scarce resource, right? So, and tourism is an industry which needs a lot of water and where people need a lot of water. So there's research in terms of that side of the technology. And then we have, because it's all about well-being and people love being sporty and healthy, and we also do research into nutrition, which is a sort of a technology in itself, right? And then in terms of health, all the tracking things, the wearable things, which is another technology. And I would even put it as far in terms of going into implants, which some countries are leading, and we don't know where it goes, right? So there are lots of, I think I can't even mention everything which opportunities we have, which also opens world which we call phygital tourism, which is basically the blend of digital and offline tourism. And at the moment, we don't yet know where it goes, because we literally have endless opportunities in terms of how much offline do we want and how much online do we want. And every single country or even destination or village, whichever level you want to go, has an opportunity to position itself in a way which is very unique by using this sort of different scale of whatever phygital experience they want.
So much for this insightful information. Cassandra, one last question before you obviously take off to the airport. Many Gulf countries are developing new megacities. Many of them are obviously in Saudi Arabia. How can these developments be designed to integrate seamlessly with and support tourism initiatives?
I think this goes for all countries, not just the Middle East. It's about making sure you have the right people around you to advise on different aspects. Particularly in sports, a lot of benefit comes from going back to the very old school principles of Olympianism. They do permeate all sports, but also transcends into corporate business as well. So if you're looking to build a mega city, you need to have the right planning, you need to have the good governance, the transparency. But when you drill down into that, you have to look at those who are making the decisions, that they're doing the process ethically, with integrity, and again, coming back to that transparency point. You can't do that if you don't know what you're actually looking to achieve, and it comes back to you don't know what you don't know. So making sure you are supported with the consultants and right teams around you will be integral to success. I think it's always much easier to ask for help than to stay proud and try and achieve something on your own, because you'll have greater success with that, particularly with the world watching.
I understand, and you are basically answered the second part of my question, which was going to be what are the challenges investors might face? They need obviously to take enough advice and do their homework properly. Yeah. I'm going to move on now to ARWA. Marketing the region, as you know, is key to make these global events successful, such as what you're trying to do now in Oman. It is what I call soft power. Already Gulf countries are huge sponsors of various global events. How do you view this, and what further opportunities do you see in this area?
I think this is everyone can notice what's happening for the GCC. Before I will just go to the deep dive on this answer, I'll just highlight some points, which is the tourism itself, it has different sectors. So one of the tourism is a sport tourism, as well as a health tourism, industrial tourism, different to the geographical location of your country. Based on that, you build on a strategy. In the GCC, I would say, what's happening within Saudi and all of the changes that we realize now, it was started by something called entertainment and sports. And this is a real soft power message to the world, that opening doors and eyes on a country by knocking the right doors, I would say, or windows, in a right and a sensitive time. Comparing to that with Oman, coming to the economic, changing the full, not a political side of it, if it's not economical side of it, when we change the full strategy of the situation of Oman over the world and the position itself, saying that we're going to be a non-oil and gas country, means we're going to depend on the FDI more than oil and gas, diversity, the economic, as I mentioned. The sports itself, the importance of sports and the tourism of sports in Oman, maybe I will just give an example, and that's the end of this message to close it, which is the new Sultan, Haytham bin Tariq, appointed his son, the new crown prince for Oman, to be the minister of sport. Means the new jump for Oman is from the culture and sports side. And you can realize the new advance and improvements is happening, and the developments on the infrastructure, on the promotion for the investment, and the tourism attractive as well.
Yes, yes. I mean, following to what you said, which was very well put, it talks also about the cultural landscape of the Gulf region, because we know it's unique, like all other parts of the world have the same situation. How can sport tourism investment, though, be designed to be respectful of local customs and traditions while still attracting a global audience? Can we find this right balance?
Yes, we can. If we are planning to attract FDI and putting a tourism one of the main pillars, which will be the main doors for the FDI. And then you specialize that tourism, as I mentioned, whether it's a health tourism, some of the places, and some of them are sports tourism. For example, you can, maybe there's some videos will come after this panel, but you can realize there's places where it's amazing, more than what I will describe. You can realize the places. You can say that this is a Maldives, or it's one of the GCC place, or this is a Switzerland, or this is one of the GCC place. We do have, and 1 hour only far from the capital to the place where it will take you a 15-degree less. And there's a places only within 3 months of the year gets a fully greeny, you're showing yourself that you are in Switzerland. And there's a places where it's nice for snorkeling and hiking, where the Prince Diana and Prince William also, they spend their honeymoon in the place called Musandam, which is on the border between UAE and Oman. I know it's a hidden gem. I would just take this opportunity to let all of you who are here to discover this place. And I think the video will be enough to attract you all to try and test what's going on within the sports tourism in Oman.
Well, I'm sure the video will speak louder than words. I've actually visited Oman over the years a few times, and I have to say I have been a bit on the jealous side, because they have a beautiful, diverse terrain, and the weather, obviously, diversity is very rich from east to west, north to south. I'm going to come back to you, Raj, with regarding to the sustainability issue. Sustainability is a growing, obviously, concern for a lot of travelers and the countries they're obviously visiting. How can sport tourism investment in the Gulf prioritize environmental and social responsibility? Can we find this right balance?
Very important issue, and the right balance can be found if it's done in the right way. So, again, alluding to what Dr. Brigitte said earlier on, she mentioned about water resources. And that's just an example looking at the environmental impact of sustainability. Are we actually replenishing more than we take out? So I think if it's done in the right way, it can be a powerful thing. So just thinking from my little niche, you look at all the little things and they make a big difference. So starting off with the right marketing, are you going to impact the environment just from your marketing? Is it going to be digital? Or if it's non-digital, is it going to be done on something like recyclable paper? Then you're looking at actually the investment and how you get the tourists over to the MENA regions. The airlines, what are they doing? Are they using more sustainable aviation fuel or renewable energies, having less of a damage on the environment? So bringing tourists over to that area. And then the infrastructure, what infrastructure is there in place? If you're going to take people out for adventure sports tourism to some hotel, for instance, what is the hotel doing? What renewable energy is it using? I've operated in places where actually we've gone and stayed in places which is fully run by solar power. So what's happening? What are the hotels actually doing? Plastic as well, that's obviously quite topical. Are they using plastic water bottles? Are they using glass bottles? What's being done about all the packaging, the water as well? Where's the water coming from? So all those things are very important from a sustainable point of view. You've also got the social aspect of sustainability. So again, it was alluded to earlier on in the question is, how are the local population being affected? Are they going to be affected adversely and harmed, or is it going to be beneficial for them? Are their culture, their traditions, is that going to be maintained? And it can be maintained. It can be a powerful thing if done in the right way. I know where I operate in other countries with the adventure sports tourism side, I believe we actually help to maintain the culture by the investment we bring in. And the other aspect of sustainability is the economical part of sustainability. Are you going to make these areas, the local communities, more resilient, more independent by bringing in finances to that area, to that region, and it's going to the local population? That's really important. Are you going to use local suppliers, local produce? So all that investment needs to be thought of carefully. Where's investment going to go to grow the adventure sports tourism?
I agree with you, and I think when it comes to smaller and niche investors, there will be a lot more room, because most local population will accept it more. It will actually allow them to venture into new areas and territories that maybe the major sports will find it a bit difficult to start with. So hands-on, yeah. I have the last question here for obviously all the panelists, and which is basically looking ahead. What are your predictions for the future of sports tourism investment in the region, and what advice would you give someone considering investing in sports tourism within the Gulf? So let me start with Dr. Brigitte here.
May I first say something to the, like being respectful while attracting. I suppose it's also like our responsibility as suppliers, like to educate customers and tourists. Like, for example, when you go to Hawaii, on the flights, they have a little video at the beginning, like how to deal with coral reefs. And I guess we could do, like, for whatever region, to teach and tell tourists how to behave, how to dress, how to go into whatever buildings, how to deal with locals. And I think we need to take this responsibility and say, okay, that's our task, because they go on holiday. And with sustainability as well, research shows people are very sustainable at home, and once they go on holiday, everything is forgotten. Because now I'm on a holiday, and now I'm enjoying, I'm using all the water, all the towels, everything is forgotten. So I think we need to bring it back to their minds when they're on their way in, to make sure that this is there. And I think in terms of the future investment, I think the MENA region has a huge opportunity, considering lots of destinations in other areas of the world are sort of westernized in different levels, but still westernized. And customers are looking for, or tourists are looking for authentic travels, for authentic experiences. And considering the different landscapes you were talking about, the different traditions, different, it doesn't matter what, like different clothing, different food, different everything basically. This is a huge opportunity, because this is what customers are looking for and what they don't get in other regions anymore. And so for investors, I would say, like, while there is still, in terms of perception, I guess, and marketing, what we need to do to promote the area, and also considering certain perception in terms of regions, what's going on from a political perception, it's a huge opportunity, and we can learn from what other regions in terms of sports tourism and creating legacy with stadiums and how to use them sustainably in the future, which can be done right now by building those things.
ARWA?
I think when anyone here would like to start any investment, they will think first on the resources. The tourism is one of the natural resources which will not cost you as a capital if you want to start or establish a new business, but just need a few things, which is a bit difficult in some of the countries, which is not applicable, which is some of the pillars, whether it's a facility or that country where they have a focus and concentration on how they can build a tourism sector into, or establish a tourism sector into the country. Although what will be added in that as she mentioned, Doctor, that the tourism has too many various, I would say, baskets to start with, either training centers at the academy, adventures, infrastructures, human resource, hospitalities, restaurants, all of these comes along with the sport tourism, because it's a package. You cannot build a stadium without a facility, without a hospitality, without a marketing side of it, without a guidance on the academy training of it. So it's one of the best, I would say, sector to invest in. And within the MENA, that's the main focus and objective for all of the countries with my review and the review of the economic strategy of the MENA.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you, because the amount of, obviously, investment the Gulf countries are putting into sports tourism is immense, and there will be a lot of opportunities across the board for all sorts of different sports. Raj, with regards to the last question.
I don't have too much to add to my fellow panel members. What I probably would just say is, yeah, massive opportunity for investment, but I think investing in the infrastructure to develop the adventure sports tourism is important and done in the right way. For example, if I can bring up Oman, for instance, I've actually spent time in the Al Hajar Mountains to train some of the future expedition leaders over there. And what I've seen in Oman, they do the infrastructure really well. You know, they do it in such a nice, subtle way. It keeps in the natural environment, keeps into the heritage. Likewise in UAE, I've taken my daughter into the desert, into UAE, and we've had great adventures over there. So, but that's because the infrastructure is being put in place in the right way, which will attract people, and it won't spoil the environment or damage the local communities.
Thank you so much. I would like now to play the video that ARWA basically has, just to give a bit of perspective in terms of what she has been talking about.
The Sultanate of Oman. An ancient land of immense and incredible beauty. A treasure trove of wonders. A masterpiece of nature. A land steeped in history. A place to awaken your senses. And realize your dreams. Visit Oman and escape the crowds. Come to Oman to be yourself. To find yourself. To do more than you thought possible. Experience Oman's unique mosaic of ancient culture. Stunning scenery. And contemporary living. Get to know this thriving modern business hub and haven for the arts. Come to Oman and discover spectacular sights as you enjoy moments you'll remember forever. The Sultanate of Oman, a country of grace and charm. Of quiet sophistication and peace. An oasis of tranquility. Oman. More than you can imagine. Everything you dream. Visit Oman.
Add something.
Yes.
I think the beauty of tourism and sports is also in terms of, if we heard all those people speaking today, like the mental strength and mental health. And we are doing one research at the moment because as you may know, tourism has not the best reputation in terms of a workplace, which is literally a shame because what you learn in tourism is a lot of socio-emotional skills which are relevant for all sorts of different things, right? And in an AI, we heard a lot in the previous panel about the future of AI, and in an AI-driven environment, this is exactly what basically people will need, because the basic cognitive skills will be replaced by technology, while the socio-emotional skills in a work environment will increase in terms of the demand. And so just working in tourism for a few years or even months will build those skills which can then be transferred to all whatever other sorts of sectors. So, and this is also what you need in sports. And so you have a lovely parallel here in terms of mental strength.
Yes, Raj, please.
Can I just add and reinforce what Dr. Brigitte's saying? Because as well as an exhibition leader, I'm also a medical doctor. And one of the things I've been looking at is adventure therapy. And it's been shown and it's been medically evidenced that doing something like adventure sports, being out in nature, can actually help with mental health conditions. And ones they've got evidence for so far are depression, anxiety, addiction, eating disorders. There's probably more which they haven't evidenced yet, but it can be quite a powerful forum. Many benefits, and I think in some societies now, we're seeing the issues of mental health being on the rise. I think part of the reason is because we're not exploring nature enough. We're not going out there exploring in these beautiful environments and challenging ourselves, which helps develop our resilience. And I think that's really important. And I think in some parts of society, we've lost that art, we've lost that skill.
Thank you so much. One last video I would like just to play before we close off is for Raj and some of his activities that he has done around the world.
Let me tell you what I have done in this world.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this has been an insightful session, and I would like to thank all the panelists for their valuable information. Thank you.